It's the final few seconds before the lights go out and the race to the podium begins. You know this battle will be won off the track as well as on it. You've studied your tactics, anticipated every move like a grandmaster. You've researched and analysed, modified and fine-tuned to perfection. You have honed your instincts to give you an edge over your rivals. Your drivers focused, your team ready. The championship in the balance, first past the checkered flag, the goal, epic victory or ultimate failure. There is only a heartbeat between them. Motorsport Manager, take control.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport Manager, a game I got in the Steam sale in a bundle of a couple of DLCs a while ago. Had a little play with. I've had a bit more of a look at it and I found it very interesting and quite enjoyable, so I thought I'd share it with you and see if you find it interesting too. Basically, here's the home screen. We're only ever going to see this once probably, so we can obviously continue the last save game we made, and I've been playing through in the open wheel series with one of the pre-existing teams. We've got new career start, which is where we're going. Here you can just play a single one-off race, which is kind of a little diversion, but it's not really very useful. You can't really perfect your strategy because you don't really have enough control over what's going on. But Steam Workshop section is where you control your mods. I've got no mods installed. Assets, they are mods I guess, but they're just purely cosmetic, and you can switch these on and off at will between game sessions. I'm just going to keep this livery pack installed for GT cars. It just gives us some more stripy looking liveries for our cars. Challenges is a DLC I haven't got. I probably shouldn't have pressed that button. And in terms of extra content, we've got the GT series, and over here the Endurance series, if it will let me scroll over there, installed. And the livery pack and the Creator Team pack, they were free DLC. These two were they're paid DLC. I think they're about £5 each on the Steam store now, but I got them bundled with the game. I haven't got the Challenges DLC. Right, anyway, that is pretty much it, so let's get on. Right, so we're going to start a new career. We're not going to start with the tutorial on. I recommend if you've never played the game, you probably do. It will throw you straight into a race and talk you through what's going on, which is very useful. However, you miss that kind of early season pre-race build-up, and it does set you at a disadvantage. Race length, I'm just going to leave at medium. It means endurance races, although that's not relevant, will be 3 hours long in real time, although you can speed them up by 12 times. And our races are going to be 30 to 40 laps roughly. We're going to keep it with British pounds and, yep, British date, so I understand what's going on. And again, we just got a list of mods over here, but we've got none of those. We've already looked at that. So we shall continue. Loading assets was that livery pack. Now here we just create our kind of character. Appearance is absolutely irrelevant, so we'll just go, let's go full afro with a hint of jazz. And yeah, that's pretty cool. That'll do me. And we need to enter a name. We don't really care, so what should we call ourselves? We'll call ourselves Barry, tabbed. Brexit. There you go, that's nice and topical. Date of birth, again irrelevant. I don't know if you get retired if you select a year here that makes you old, so I haven't. UK, doesn't really matter. Now here you can choose your backstory of your character. Ex-driver, it gives you a +3 to driver feedback rating, which I'll explain when that's relevant in the game, but it's a positive thing. And stat improvement on your drivers is increased, which again is positive. We can go for an ex-engineer, so you develop parts quicker. I'm not sure that's the one, definitely early game, that's the most advantageous. Maybe in the longer game it is. Then we've got financial, you basically get a 5% discount on everything. And that is quite a powerful thing to have, to be honest. It's not useless. We can go Politico. Now in the games, the league that you'll be in will have rules. And during the year you'll vote over rule changes and etc. Now this basically gives you more political influence, so you can try to manipulate the rules to favour your team. Maybe quite an interesting playthrough, but not the one we're going to go for. Unknown gives us nothing. I'm just simply going to go for the X-Driver, keep it simple, because, yeah, why not? So, that's us done there. And that is the last time, apart from if you want to change your team name, which we're going to do maybe in a moment, that you'll ever need to touch a keyboard in this game. There are some shortcuts on the keyboard, and the spacebar is useful to pause it sometimes, but apart from that, you can now play this entire game with the mouse on one button, and that can be quite handy. So anyway, choose a team. We've got the 3 series here, so if we were going to go into the GT series, which we are going to do as a pre-existing team, then we would go into here, and we've got a choice of teams. So basically they're in order. You know, these are going to hopefully finish, expected to finish first. I assume they're all in order. Third and fourth are swapped around for some reason. These are the small boys down here. Now if you start up with one of these teams, you start off basically with higher expectations on you, a little bit more pressure up at this end, and this is the cash you're going to start with. And in this form of the game, you're going to then be dependent on making a profit each race weekend. Now, we're not going to use one of these teams. We're coming back here to create a team in the GT series. Now, there are 2 divisions, Tier 2, Tier 1. Tier 1 is the bigger boys, more powerful cars. They're running V8s and doing 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds with no restrictions on parts development. We're going to go in here in Tier 2. You can't develop the spoilers on your cars. That's one less thing to spend money on, which is good. Cars are a little bit slower. We're only running V6s. They're the comparative abilities of the team represented by these bars. That's the average, that's the car, the drivers, the HQ, the staff, and that's the pit crews. And these bars are used throughout the game for like comparison. Right, let's get on. We're in the GT Challenger series. So now, here's our car. Everyone gets the same car. There's only one car in the game. There are mods, as I said, to change some cosmetics and give you new models. But we've all got the same car. It's a one-make series. By default, your team will be given your Christian name. So we're not actually going to be called Barry GT Racing. That would be rather rubbish. So we're going to go up here. We're going to change it. We're going to, in honour of my Eve connections, we're going to call our team the Seyllin Speedstars. Now, country of origin, we're going to stick with a good old UK, why not? Logo design, I actually just had a thought. In terms of the fact I called myself Barry Brexit, there is there's a team already in the game that has basically a Union Jack livery, which would be appropriate, but we're not going to use that. We're going to forget about him. That was just flippancy and not a political statement. Don't shout at me in the comments. Right, here we can change our team logo to something that looks attractive to us. Let's keep it simple, shall we? Right, so yeah, we'll stick with that logo. I like that one. Colours, we need something suitably loud, I think. We'll go for green. And we'll go for a nice bright red. Bloody red, maybe a little bit brighter. There you go, yeah, that'll do me. Fantastic. Team uniform, we'll go exactly the same way, since they're already here saved on my little palette. Green, and we'll go with the red, the brighter red. And that looks fine. Those pictures are now done. Right, team livery, this is where it gets interesting. So, vanilla, as it were, we've got 17 choices. And they're quite a nice mixture. They're all used, well, not the 10 of them are used by the teams that pre-exist in the game. So there's the Union Jack one, obviously in completely the wrong colours. Down here again, you've got 4 colour slots to change. And it is worth on some of the liveries swapping them all around, not just the primary and secondary, just to see. Sometimes red here and white here gives a very different effect to doing it the other way around. The workshop ones that I loaded are quite nice. If you just like it simple and kind of retro, that's where you are. And I think we will keep it cool for now. So what we want is a nice bright colour, just to make the car clearer to see. Now, how gaudy is it going to be if we go for that bright green as the main colour? No, that's fine. I like that. And then we'll go for a red stripe. One of my favourite beers. But there you go. That looks pretty cool. And then what colour's this here? Move this. What's that changing? Ah, we can have. There's supposed to be a stripe. So we'll have a black stripe there. And then this other colour. Do we just want that black? Yeah, there you go. We'll keep it simple. And sponsor colours, I don't really think we need. How does the green look? Where's that going to show up? Yeah, we'll go for the green. You're not really going to see these in the game at all. So we'll say that is your job done. Seyllin Speedstars. A legend is born. Have I finished editing the new team? Yes, I have. Right, now here, we get to choose from 3 different startups. We got this one here. This will give you a 3-star chassis in the first season, which is a very good chassis. It's a good head up, but I don't really go for this one. You get less money. You can't really develop the drivers and the cars, etc., and the staff to make the most of that chassis in your first season. And in the second season, you'll have to build your own chassis, which won't be as good as that one. So you're kind of taking a step back. So I avoid that one. The one in the middle, we get plus 40% to the team's marketability and a medium starting financial package. It's the plus 40% to marketability that is really important, because this is the basis of your income. Any additional income you're going to make is from sponsors, which is all dependent on this rating. So that's a very good one to have. If you get this one over here, the Golden Tiger Bank, you'll get more money. You'll have a test track pre-built, which is good for engine development. And you'll have more money. You'll have more pressure on you for your job. So if you don't do well, you may get fired. Game over, basically. We're going to go for the middle. The plus 40% team marketability is probably the one that really clinches it. I wouldn't mind if this was higher pressure if you get this bonus here. So we're going to accept that offer from the Stonewall Bank. And off we go. Right, so here we are on the home screen. Basically a summary of all the information we need. We've got the money there, £10 million we start off with, which is quite nice. We've got the standings there, which obviously hasn't started racing. We've got the track guide. We'll have a look at more of this later in a bit more detail. We've got the rules, again, to be looked at later. Notifications, and then your save game, load game, quit, etc. Right, the good stuff. We've got our car over here, looking splendid. Can't move it in this view. Can't stop it spinning in the creation screen, which is a little bit annoying. Chairman's happiness. You have to really be naughty to get him dissatisfied with you, with the expectations that he's going to have. We've got our drivers here. We'll have a look at those when we get to that screen. That's the average for the season, these arrows. We are the worst in every one of those departments we talked about earlier. Our sponsors is one I didn't mention, so that's something we really need to sort out. Tune the car, work in progress, nothing at all. We've started from scratch. So here's our player screen. Pretty much irrelevant, to be honest with you. These scores here would only really have any relevance if you were to try to transfer to another team, one of these available jobs. If you've got a really bad financial score, their chairman's not really going to want to employ you. But we're going to stick with our team through thick and thin. We've got the mail here, which is a good place to start. I shall flick through these a little bit. Obviously, you can pause the video and read them to your heart's content. But there's just our welcome to the game, welcome to the team from the chairman. Get things started. And they're telling us that we're basically rubbish. Target for the season. Now this is how much money we're going to get as a lump sum. It's only 3.6 million or 4.32 million, very exact figure. Are we going to come 8th or are we going to go 10th? We're going to say we just come 10th. We want no expectation out of us whatsoever for this season to take the pressure off, because this is going to be the building season. We're not going to be challenging for honours at all. Scouting report. Our drivers are awful, our designer is awful, our mechanics are awful. We need to get hiring fast. We shall. Introduction to the energy recovery system. This is a feature of the GT leagues that they have these fitted to the cars. 3-stage qualifying, we'll get to that when we get to it. Yep, basically there's 3 qualifying sessions to decide the starting grid. Weight stripping, you can balance out, you could take some of the reliability out of your car to give it a little bit of a performance boost. And an introduction to the pit crew, just to explain, because that was a new part of the game when this DLC came out, and also the pit crews etc. apply in the vanilla game, the open wheel version. So I'm just going to say got it to all of them. As I say, you can read the emails as much as you like. I'll make sure I'm not mis-scrolling anything, but we'll look at what these are all really about when we're in the relevant screens of the game as we go along. Here is our car. As you can see, we've already looked at it. It's awful. It will actually tell you how awful it is part by part. And in terms of parts on the car, we've got the engine, which gives us the top speed rating. Gearbox to give us the acceleration rating. Brakes gives us deceleration rating. The suspension translates into a rating for medium speed corners. And the rear wing is a part we can't change in this series, so we're all joint first or joint last, whichever way you want to look at it. This is the rating of our car overall. As you can see, it's very average. So we'll look at what these actually affect in gameplay as we're actually playing the game, because this is all really going to come into play in the races and how we need to micromanage the car and arrange the pit stops. They're the components our car is built out of. We get a pre-built car in the first year. Once we finish this season, we'll build next year's car, and we can spend more or less money on these various components to get a different star rating for our car. Design new part. We're not going to do this yet, but this is where you'll develop your engines, your gearboxes, your brakes and your suspension. Fit parts is where you'll change what's actually fitted to your cars, switch them between drivers. Improve parts is where you tune your parts, and very first thing I'm going to do, so I don't forget, is you have 2 mechanics. They're very rubbish at the beginning. We'll look at the staff in a moment, but even so, they can do a little bit of work. Now, if you look here, we've got reliability. And this is going to wear down over the course of a race, and we're going to check this for any particularly low numbers, because you do start seasons with reduced reliability on your parts. So we're immediately going to press here to put this over here, and this is assigning all the staff to reliability. We don't want to worry about performance yet. We've got rubbish parts which aren't very improvable. We're going to build parts and improve them. Now, reliability is the name of the game, and this engine here we're going to put up. Engines and gearboxes are the priority. They're all over 70%, which is pretty much okay. These parts, the suspension and the brakes, we can fix on the fly much easier in pit stops, but again, we'll look at that when we're actually in the race mode. So I'm just going to put those 2 parts in there, so they're going to get improved performance percentage wise just while we're doing the rest of these menus each day, and they will be improved by this much. 3% is the number of staff that we've allotted, which is all of them, you can see, because that's all we want them to do. And we get a little bonus from the mechanic, which is tiny at the moment, and that's applied to these parts in the queue per day. You don't need to wait for them to get to 100%. You can drag these in and out of here whenever you like. HQ screen, we have a level 1 factory, we have a level 1 design center. There are various things you can build, such as forecasting center extends the range of the weather forecast in the racing screen. Scouting facility, you can find new drivers. Staff center just makes everyone improve a little bit better on their ratings. Brakes R&D facility, and the rest of these here, the handling center, the simulators, all the parts that are going to improve, the parts that you can build for your car, they're all locked behind upgrading the factory or the design center. Right now we're not going to do anything at this point. We'll look a little bit later. It's a big capital outlay on our budget. We've only got 13.6 million. When we get to the finance screen, we'll see what actually means. The team, this is everybody here. We've got me, job secure, 3 drivers, first and second car, and a reserve driver. We've got a lead designer. They're the guys that develop new parts for us. 1 star, not very good. We don't even want to start developing parts for this guy because they will not really be much better than what we've got. And these are the race mechanics. Marketability is currently at 24%. We need to boost that, then we get better sponsors coming to us and paying us more money to put their name on our car. These are our drivers. Arturo Casino, Bill Lahane and Sabrina Brillhart is our reserve driver. They have ratings in various aspects of their job. Feedback is quite an important one. We'll look at this in a little bit more detail on how it applies to the gameplay again as we get to a relevant section of the actual game. Bill has we're going to click on Bill. We'll look at his full character screen. He's got the driver trait of dumb. Adaptability -1, which means, you know, rain in a race can catch him out. Feedback -1 is about car setups and race preparation. He's not a very good driver. His smoothness rating is good because he's going to take a long time to wear, slightly longer actually, not a long time, to wear down his tyres, and overtaking he's quite good at. Our reserve driver, Sabrina, is very bad at most of the driving skills required. She's got a good feedback rating. Basically, we'll put her in a car during practice, and she'll give us some basic boosts to a car preparation. Her focus is -1, and her improvability is -25. But anyway, she's not staying around for long. I can guarantee you that. Staff. Again, it's the lead designer and the 2 mechanics. We'll look at these in detail when we're going to look to get some new guys. The pit crew. These are very important in game. You've got the front jack and the rear jack guy. You've got 4 guys to change the tyres. And then these 2 guys are also going to do your refueling. And these 2 guys are going to do any repairs during pit stops that are required. Very important that you keep an eye on their stamina. Don't let them wear out. We will need to get some more of these so we can rotate the team and also improve them. These ratings, by the way, are all out of 20, so that's how poor some of these guys are. Look, we got a guy there who's 0 at changing tyres. So what we're really going to do with him, other than ever put him on the rear jack, sorry, the front jack. But you can see he's better than the guy that's already assigned there, so we can very easily swap him over. And then we could look for a guy with a better rating than 3 for the rear jack, and in fact that guy there, although he's 5 at tyres, so we might want him doing tyres. We'll come back to that and mess around with this later. Scouting, this is where we're going to find ourselves some new drivers to hopefully hire. You can't just like hire and fire drivers all the time. It's kind of self-defeating. You'll get a very bad reputation. You can filter the columns up here. So we're going to filter to racing series. We're going to go right down to the bottom and look for the unemployed drivers of the world. Now you could go straight to a driver and you could approach him and try to negotiate, but you won't really know much about him. You certainly won't know what he expects negotiation wise. So what we're going to do is scout these drivers. Now you can have, at the moment, I can have 3 active scouting slots, and I'll rack up a queue down here that'll be worked through. So we're going to start scouting some drivers. Now you can see there's an estimate of their skill. Frankie Kinney there has a very, very high feedback rating potentially, so we're going to scout her because a good reserve driver is a handy thing to have on your team. Who else should we have a look at? We'll just have a look at the bottom 2, work our way up the list. You can't really tell too much about them. I can see his stats are so high we probably can't afford him, and the rest we'll just leave to get scouted. Oh, and also Mr. Engelhart here has the same name as the street I grew up in South London, in lovely Catford, even though the developers have spelt it slightly wrong. We're going to favourite him. He's got very good stats. Maybe one day we'll sign him. There's a connection there already. Right, finances. You can see we got £13.6 million in the bank. That's absolutely good. But what isn't so good is our cost per race event, which is basically the financial tick of this game. Everything is based on per race costs or payments. We're going to lose over £1 million a race. There are 10 races in a season, so £10 million of this is going to go just on race expenses. So we've actually got about £3.4 million to play with as things stand. What we need to do is cut this expense and maybe one day get it into profit by getting sponsorship payments in, and at the moment we have 0. If we get desperate later on in the season, we can request additional funds of our chairman. We can't at the moment. I think he only offers you about 400,000, and it puts his happiness down with you about 30-40%. We'll have a look when that's active just to check what the figures are later in the season. Down here, we set the budget for next year's car, and this is basically a figure that we'll pay on each race day, and it's already factored into the cost per race up here. And what we'll set aside basically to build next year's car: £600,000 per race, £300,000 per race, or £900,000 per race if we're feeling particularly flush. We then get that back at the end of next season to build next year's car with. We can change this at any time during the season, race to race, and whatever this is added up to after 10 races is what we get paid back. Just to put things in perspective, this year's car is based on this level of saving. So if we can stick to the medium, we'll have twice as much in theory to spend on our car, which might be quite good, eh? So we'll leave it where it is for now. And just for comparison, using a fake ID and a really good disguise, I've sneaked into the HQ of Oakham Racing, the next worst team in the league. If we go to their finances screen, you'll see later on a completely different kind of financial model than us. They've only started with $100,000. So they haven't got the money really to develop parts or break contracts or pay sign-on fees at the beginning of the game. They are getting a payment per race from their chairman, and this will go into a profit here per race when they finish getting their sponsorship deals in place, because they haven't filled all their slots yet. And they are going to basically have to save up some money to get some capital from the profit on each race day. That's something we don't have to worry about. While we're here, I've had a quick sneak. Their drivers are very similar to ours, even down to the stats. That they've got the guy with high feedback and fitness, and the guy with high smoothness and high overtaking. This guy here is a pay driver, so the team are paying him £133,000 per race to drive for them, but the sponsor, the driver's sponsor that is paying the team $219,000 a race. So they're making a profit by using this guy, and he's not bad. If he was to be just a reserve driver, then you'd only get half of that payment, but even that can work in your favour with reserve drivers, because you can pay them small amounts. That's something to look out for when we're scouting for drivers. That's the point there. And here is our sponsors screen, and as you can see at the moment, all of our sponsor slots, this basically shows you where they'll appear on the car if you hover over them. They're all empty. The three over here, they're the race bonus sponsors. They will basically give us a bonus based on our position in the race and qualifying, if that's applicable to the league, which it is in ours. And they may also pay us an upfront cash payment, which is always handy. These three over here, they pay us a fixed amount per sponsor. We'll have a look when we've actually got some offers in here to see how they work. This is our 24% team marketability rating, which is at the moment giving us a 1-star sponsor appeal level. We get that up to 2 stars. We get better deals from 2-star sponsors. Our team marketability score here of 40% is the one we got from our startup bonus. Without that, we'd be even lower, because basically this 24% is the average of these three figures here. So add those together, divide them by 3, round it up, you get 24%. This is the first driver, the second driver, and the team score. The reserve driver's marketability is not factored into this at all. Do bear that in mind. Now, drivers will increase sometimes due to events in marketability, even if they get into trouble. They get press exposure, it will go up, or you can look to recruit drivers with higher marketability as you progress your team. Team marketability here will also increase and decrease as your performances improve and your league position improves. This will rise. And also during interviews, you can, say something contentious about the competition, which will get you some press exposure. That might go up, or you might make a gaffe and that will go down. But all of these figures can change over the course of the year. Just remember that reserve driver does not count. Right, standing screen obviously has nothing to show. We're at the beginning of the season, but if you wish to, you can check in the single-seater series, the GT and the Endurance, to see how teams and drivers are getting on. Maybe you're scouting on somebody, want to have a look up there. I actually like it in this game. It's a completely unlicensed game. That's why there are no real event names, championship names, team names, or driver names. I actually quite like that. I find if you're playing a simulator game, especially a sports one with real teams and real people, you've got all your attachments which kind of really, send you in a very certain direction. This is so free and open that I actually like it. You can get mods to make these as much more realistic in terms of teams, players, liveries, car models. If you like that, go for it. But I actually like the fact that all of this is just a completely made up universe. The actual circuits do seem to be very closely modelled on real world tracks, and I actually recognise a few of them from Forza, if nothing else. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, this is the calendar for the year with all the events, and what we really need to get from this screen is the race day weather forecast, because that can be quite important to how we run practice. And this information over here is the key components on the car for that event. So acceleration, which is gearbox, medium speed corners, suspension, top speed, secondary is your engine. And down here we got fuel usage and tyre wear indicators for the circuit, and some more information that we'll really get into on race day and see how that relates to how we need to actually plan the team event. Right, our first admin job really is to sort the staff out. Now they're all rubbish, as the email said, and as you can see for their very low star ratings. You'll also see they're on £1,000 per race contract with no break contract penalty fee. So they're there to really be replaced as soon as possible, and that's what we're going to do. If we actually look at our drivers, they're on contract for the whole season. So if we were to replace one of these drivers, we need to pay nearly $750,000 just to release them, and on our budget that's probably not a very good idea, but we shall see. But that's something, you know, that's a restriction on what we can do with the drivers. But the staff here we need to replace straight away. Basically what we're looking for are people with much better figures than these. No, let's just get on with the scouting. We're going to go into here. We've got the designers there, but the race mechanics are probably our first priority, because their skills will apply to the parts we're improving straight away. Then we can get a designer and start designing some parts. So again, we've got the unemployed drivers down here. Something else to bear in mind is if you do want to poach somebody from another team, they're not going to want to come down a level of competition. So if we go to the international GT competition and select a mechanic from here, I'm very sure they're not even going to be interested in having a discussion with us. So we're restricted really, if we want to look at guys that have already got a job, to the GT Challenger Series, the competition we're in, and the European Racing Series, which is the lowest league of the endurance racing. So we can look at those, and in fact we are going to look at one of these. I have a particular favourite. You know what happens in these games. I have played through a few seasons, and somewhere up here is a wonderful Spanish mechanic. In fact, I'm just going to search by nationality because that's much easier. Where are you? Here we are. This chap here, Mauricio Kurtz. He's 2 and a bit stars, but these are outlined areas of room for improvement, so that's quite good. He's got a very good reliability rating, and that is going to mean that the reliability work on our car parts is going to take place much quicker. And do bear in mind, when we build a new part internally within the team, that's going to start with maybe 50% reliability or less, depending on how we build it. So getting those up and that reliability factor up is very important. More important to me than performance, although his performance of 10 is obviously average, but that's reasonable. The scores up here affect pit stop times and the likelihood of accidents. They're kind of acceptable. This one I really like. We're going to have to pay £144,000 to break his contract, but that's not a huge amount of money, and I think we can probably get him for a reasonable amount. But let's have a look. So we're going to approach this mechanic. He is interested. Good. Now, wages are fairly important to me. Now here we got a plus and minus for our offer, and that's the highest. Fairly important to me means 1, 2, 3, 4. We can probably go, I don't know, I'm going to offer him £35,000 as his opening payment per race. He'd like a long contract, which is fine by us, because that will give him time to improve. I don't mind who pays the buyout clause. Well, in that case, you can buy it. You can pay it. Why not? I'd prefer a signing on fee, where you can have one, but you don't say you want a nice one, and you're paying 144 grand to get yourself out your contract, so I'll pay you 24 grand back. Bonus size isn't very important. so we won't even offer them. There could be a bonus based on qualifying position and a race position. If it's not important, don't even offer them. Now over here, his patience score, that's how many opportunities we will get. Well, it's trying to tell us there, look, with a pop-up. That's how many opportunities we will get to negotiate the deal. He's got 4, so we've got plenty of room to increase offers if we need to. Some drivers only have 1, so do bear that in mind. You might have to get this right first time. If you really offend a stroppy driver with a very low offer, I have had one who, even though they had patient stars left, just refused to talk to me. So that can happen too, which I quite like, those kind of random events. So we are going to send out offer in. So the offer is sent. He's not going to reply immediately. You can never like instantly sign anybody. We've got to wait until Sunday for him to respond to our contract proposal. But before we advance the calendar, we're just going to look now back down here. We're going to select back to racing series. Among the unemployed guys, who have we got here? Now these don't need scouting to see their full scores. Don't need him. We've already offered a job to a guy with a good performance rating. Becky Tikagawa, well, lots of room for improvement. Performance 12, concentration's quite high. That helps with the pit stop mistakes reduction, so she's a possibility. Who else have we got? Kevin, he's got very good scores, but he might be a bit expensive. But we can always offer him a job. He's very good in the pit stops and part fixing he's very good at. And that's actually going to affect the time that it takes to repair parts in the pits during the race. So that can be quite handy, especially if we deliberately run 1 week a car, especially in the first races of the season. I think that's very average. I like Samantha Stafford. A little bit of room for improvement as well. I think we're going to offer Kevin, but he wants lots of money. Wages are important to him. In fact, if he's going to go that high, I'm not even going to pay that much for a mechanic at this stage of the game. Let's go back to Becky. Performance figure is good. Yeah, we're going to give Becky an offer. Wait, see, the scale here is just different to that other guys. He wants to be playing in a high, racing and working for a higher tier team and getting paid much more money. We can't really afford him right now. So 37 seems reasonable. A medium contract, that sounds fair enough. Don't really worry, even if you sign guys, they'll only sign a short contract. Re-signing a guy that you've already got on your team, be it a mechanic or a designer or a driver, is much cheaper than signing them from another team. You never have to pay another sign-on fee, and the increase in wages they want once you've got them signed is going to be quite sensible. She'd like a nice signing on fee, so they don't really go too high, fortunately, so we're going to say 36 is a nice one. Bonus size is quite important. Now, they only worry about the size of the cash figure that we're looking at here. We can restrict to only paying it when we come first, and that doesn't actually seem to ever affect how happy they are with this aspect of the offer. So if it's quite important, I'll offer you the earth, because the chances of us getting a first place are about the same as me winning the lottery, and then it won't matter. Right, there we go. So your proposal is sent. Now if we look at the calendar, now I'm just going to check on the staff screen. Have we sent offers into everybody now? Yes, they both got their offers in. They won't necessarily respond at the same time. And now we're going to look very quickly for a designer. Again, I've already had a little pre-search. We're in the same situation here. I've got them sorted into unemployed ones. There are some great guys up here, but I'm not willing to pay. You see, they're either cheap per race, but they may still have quite a big break contract, or they're very expensive per race to run a long contract. I'm not paying a designer $350,000 a year. He wouldn't even sign for me anyway. So we're just going to stick down here for the unemployed guys. And let's have a look. We've got Scarlett Moore. Now those scores there, let me get one further up so you can see more clearly. They've got a rating for how much they are going to improve the performance of the parts that they produce. So the person we've got now with very low skills is barely if we were to spend $1 million on developing a new engine, it's barely going to be better than the one that we've got. If we got a guy with a really high engine build rating, like this one here, that would have a much higher performance value straight off the shelf. The spoiler score for this guy is actually irrelevant right now for us, because spoilers, remember, are a fixed part. We can't change them. We can't develop our own. They're spec'd for the series. So that's kind of irrelevant. But I do like his ratings. They're all quite good. He's 3-star. We've got Houston Woods up here. He's quite good, and he's got a little bit of room for improvement. So I think we're going to... I like the look of Vasily, actually. Should we get a Russian on board? He's 52, lots of experience. These here are just skills that they'll have. These vary from guy to guy. We'll have a look at that when we're actually building a component. We're going to approach this designer now. Luckily, he's interested. Now, he's going to cost us more than a mechanic. Wages are fairly important. If it says very important, I usually go down 2. If it says fairly, I usually go down 4. So let's put our first bid in there. He's a very patient man. I'm happy with a long contract for you. And we're going to give you a nice signing on fee. We're going to keep it sensible. That's a nice, right. Again, bonuses aren't very important, so we're not even going to offer them. And we're going to put that offer in. Drivers, as I said, A, we've got to buy them out, and B, if you look on the scouting screen, none of them are going to be ready for us to have a proper idea of, or to be able to negotiate with properly till after the first race anyway. So we're going to advance the calendar. There's not much else going on. We will check back in the garage now that the calendar's stopped running, just to see how those car improvements are coming on. Remember, the engine and gearbox are up to nearly 80%, so we'll put the other 2 back in to give them a boost up. And mail, faults on the design center. Yeah, we can't afford to upgrade the design center yet. We will have a look at that one day. We're stuck with our level 1 factory, level 1 design center. We've got very busy farmers over here in the background. Plenty of room for us to build all of our things as we progress, but not now, thank you very much. Oh, we should have been tighter. He's accepted our contract straight away, Mauricio. So we're going to sign him. It's going to ask us which one we want to replace. It really doesn't matter. And then that's done. We got to pay $24,000, which was his signing on bonus. But we did very well out of that deal. And he's only costing us $35,000, which is a very reasonable sum. But now, if we go back to our car improvement screen, I'm just going to make sure that he is assigned to reliability. As you can see, he's now giving us a 0.8% boost per day to the increase in reliability, whereas the ones we started with are just 0.2. So that is basically the difference that makes. We should look at some more details of their relationship with the driver, etc., when we get towards the race day. In fact, we'll just check it now. Who is his mechanic? Sorry, his assigned driver. So he's assigned to Austuro Casino. His chemistry score is 0 because they're only just met. Once they've spent some time together, these skills kind of boosts will be unlocked, giving us a bonus on intermediate tyres, and this one, Nurse, will slow down the loss of condition on parts of the car during a race. The guy that we're going to fire has got the equivalent for soft tyres and Nurse again. But anyway, we've got some sponsorship offers in, but we've only got 1. You can get up to 3 offers per slot. It's best to wait until you've got 3. So we're going to play this a little bit patiently. And that's an email saying that we've signed him. We know. And that's a news announcement saying that we've signed him. We know. Right, here's the other 2. So, Becky... Oh, I should have offered to much worse. Oh, no, she wants to renegotiate. So she wants a bit more money. We'll go... Yeah, that'll do. We can do it one step at a time. We're in no rush to get you because you're going to be our performance mechanic, and we don't need to do that yet. And Vasily has accepted straight away. So again, I was probably a little bit over generous there, but 107,000 isn't bad for quite a good designer with just a 300,000 signing on fee. So now, yet again, we'll go back to our design new parts, and we can now. Now, my priority really is engines and gearboxes, because they are the most relevant parts on most tracks. Suspension is the cheapest, so we're going to just go with a suspension part for now. It only costs us $150,000 to develop, plus the costs of the components, which is £50,000 each. Now we can choose what we're going to do here. We can choose this one here. That will reduce the red zone here, which is when a part goes into the danger zone due to wear, by 10%, which is kind of useful. This one is going to increase the medium speed corner rating by 10 and the reliability by 10. Basically the reliability boost is the reliability it's going to have when it's first built, so it's going to be 50%. So if I was to choose that, we'd have 50% reliability, 23 performance that could be tuned up to 34. If I just go for this one, you see it just reduces the red zone. This one here, this will increase the medium speed corners by 25 and decrease the red zone by 5%, but it has a risk level of 1. If we get caught in scrutineering with that, we'll get a points penalty and the part will be banned, and I think it gets confiscated. So yeah, we don't really want to go down that route quite so early in the game, so we're going to keep things very simple and just go for this one right here, and that's going to cost us 200,000 to build, and we're going to go ahead and do that. We shall progress the calendar, and we are at the day when we travel to Vancouver, our first race. And that is everything we need to do or can do right now before race 1 is done. And I think we're going to leave this episode there. For those of you that are gutted that you're not going to see a race, this is already 50 minutes. The next episode we're going to get the pit crew ready, because we have to get them arranged before we leave for the race, because then they're locked. And we're going to get the practice, qualifying and the race in Vancouver done in the next episode. But for now, that is it. I hope this has inspired some interest in you and seems like fun. The next episode will be up very quickly, because I'm just going to record it live as it happens. So join me for what might be an epic performance, both by myself and the team, or could be an absolute shambles as I try to live narrate and control 2 very fast racing cars using clicks of my mouse. So leave us a like if you've liked it, give me some encouragement to pump them out. Any comments or feedback, please do leave them there. I've only played this game a bit, suggestions are greatly appreciated. Bear in mind I might be a few episodes ahead in recording already though, but certainly forward planning hints would always be useful. And subscribe if you want to stay in touch, and click the notification bell to know when the next episode is released. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.